Welcome back to the Part-Time Otaku podcast. My name is Grant.
My name's Dave.
All right, the dust has settled on Attack on Titan, and we are on our new horizon, Dave. How excited are you for My Hero Academia?
We're here, man.
Yeah.
It feels like these seasons between animes are so friggin' long.
Yeah.
Feels like I finished binging all of My Hero Academia like a lifetime ago,
Mm.
but I actually think it was a quarantine COVID binge, so it obviously wasn't that long ago.
That just goes to show how slow time is moving.
But yeah, man, and it's such a change from Attack on Titan. I'm really stoked to dive back into it.
It was funny when obviously like everything's a little segmented. We missed the first week due to the Attack on Titan finale, but that was the one thing going into it. I was like, this is going to be such a different speed from show. I was really excited. It's I love My Hero Academia almost just as much as Attack on Titan. But when and we'll get into that. But like the first few moments, I was like, oh, like this show, like we're gonna be good here. Like it's the perfect blend of comedy and drama and action and significantly less serious, but it's good stuff. I'm really excited.
I totally agree because this show is so fun. And
yes,
these first couple episodes that we're going to cover today just really pound that home. Like they have a great narrative and a great plot and a through line, and I'm sure it's going to be great and I'm excited. But yeah, it's just such a different tone. It's a really fun show.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess before we get right into it, we want to give a shout out to at Sean Henkado for his artwork that he gave us of the Deku versus Overhaul fight at the end of season 4.
Yeah.
All time.
Killer thumbnail. One of our favorite fights of the whole series.
Yeah.
You can find him on Instagram at Sean_Henkado, and we'll tag you when this episode comes out. Just like Attack on Titan, we're going to be trying to feature fan art every episode. So if you want to be featured, hit us up. But yeah, thanks for the killer art.
Yeah, thank you very much. So now to the synopsis. Episode 1, All Hands on Deck, Class 1A. The day after Endeavor's battle, there's an emergency drill at UA High School, and Class 1A is forced to do their part. They face off against some familiar faces and have an explosive time accomplishing their objectives.
Good one.
This fucking show, man. Like,
I like the really good season opener, right?
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say. What a perfect refresher without calling it a, you know how like some shows, like this season, like I'm currently also watching That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. Like technically the first episode of the season was completely dedicated as like a recap. That was more because there was so much time prior. But in the opener of My Hero, they were able to like make the plot go forward and somehow fit like reminding everyone who everyone was and their powers and kind of like what has happened. It was very, very smart and very well done.
Yeah, I totally agree. It was a really, really fun episode. I loved all the coordination in this episode. I know that's like such a random thing to call out, but there was so much killer teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
That
shows they've grown.
Yeah, it shows they've grown, and it shows, like you said, it was a really great way to remind you, because it has been a while, of what everybody's specialty is, what the quirks are for every character. That was a really, really effective way to kind of bring everybody back up to speed.
Yeah, it was perfect for me too, because like Leanna was watching it with me. She watched all of it. She has never watched any Attack on Titan, but she watched all season 4, like beginning to end, and she like pieced it together. And there was a couple, without trying to get too into spoiler territory, just in case we ever rewatch it together.
Yeah,
like it's all spoiled anyways, but this was perfect because it just shows everyone who they are, what they do, and she was just like, okay, I'm ready to go. Like I can figure it out from here.
Jump into season 4, 5,
and that's what and that's what it is. Like it's such a big show. It's coming back. The creators must want to put themselves in the position where anyone at any time could potentially just jump in at this point. And that was what this first episode kind of felt like.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that, but you're definitely right. Like these characters are so established, you kind of have runway with any of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like how Lita has been a part of some really cool storylines,
but
a lot of the time he takes a back seat. Or how you can give Red Riot an entire episode and nobody bats an eye.
Exactly. That's one of the tricky things with a cast so large, right? You have to, you have like your top tier like main characters that are always going to get the attention, and then it's to naturally kind of fit them in, and to kind of go back to like Attack on Titan for a second, but that was like Connie and Jean. They had their moments
Yeah.
to shine, and they kind of littered their moments here and there, but with the brunt of it. But this is even a bigger challenge. Like how many is in their class? Like it must be 16 or 18.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah,
That feels
like
like
it's
yeah. It feels like
plus
a
of
good guess.
all the other heroes and all like and that was the other thing like with this episode that reminded me is there's so much detail in every single character. Like they are so uniquely their own. There's very little like blending of characters, I find. Like usually like they're just so unique in their own way. Like in a like how big are superheroes now? It's there's in so many mediums. It's this show's good stuff. And it's beautiful and it's bright and fucking I'm just
Bright,
glad to be back.
very
I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, very colorful, like you said. Like just yeah, bright is definitely the word for it. So it starts off recapping the Endeavor versus Nomu fight. I love that fight.
Yeah.
That is
good
such a
fight.
great one. And like they call out that specific line that I remember loving so much when I had finished season 4, which is when Endeavor, right before he beats that Nomu, he says, "You are me from the past or another future." I just like it was crazy to me how well they did by that character in such a short amount of time. Like they've obviously set up Endeavor for a while now.
Yeah.
But he hasn't had a lot of just straight up screen time, plot time. And then they kind of put it all together towards the end of season 4, and that really, really worked.
Well, absolutely. And I had remember thinking back when I first first started watching the show, and like they shone like a light on Todoroki and his drama with his dad.
Yeah.
And they had hit it a little bit, but then it kind of just disappeared. And I was like, oh, that's weird. They really put a lot of emphasis on that, and they just left it alone for such a long period of time. And you can tell now that's going to be like they're pulling back that storyline, and it's probably going to be at the forefront for the next little while, I would imagine.
Yeah, it seems like they've planted a lot of seeds throughout, especially those early seasons, and they can kind of go back to any of those storylines whenever they want to. And like you said, yeah, it feels like now is the time they're going to explore this whole family dynamic thing.
Yeah, and like on the fight itself, it's been forever since what was it, like a year and a half ago, since maybe longer, since season 4 part 2, which I totally forgot they split the season up.
Oh yeah, see, I watched it. I was late, right? So I watched the whole thing at once.
Oh, okay. So, but that fight when he kind of does his like final prominence burn move, like to finally finish off.
Plus ultra.
Yeah, just the plus ultra. When he does that, I never noticed this before, or maybe I had, but it's been so long. When like the screen kind of turns to flame, and it's just kind of like the outline in the flame, he looks
God, yeah.
exactly like All Might.
Yeah, man, he looks
Has the same
killer.
face structure and like the same like scream, and his eyes kind of look hollowed out, and it was very, very cool. And like they really set up that he is like the new number 1. And
Yeah, man,
yeah.
they killed it. Obviously, this I should have asked you this off air, but you're watching this in subs, right?
Absolutely.
Oh my god, I've seen some footage of the dub, and like I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah.
But like some of these like incredibly iconic My Hero moments, like the plus ultra prominence burn, or like the United States of Smash, it just it hits so much better with the original voice actors for the subs. Like the Japanese actors, it is so much better.
And
than
like
the dub.
no disrespect to like the English voice or
No.
the English voice actors for the dub and all that, but like I don't think I've ever heard a scream pulled off as well as like the original Japanese broadcast. Like
Yeah,
it's just something about the voice actors for like in that industry on like the Japanese side. It's out of this. Like these guys should be screaming at a metal band. Like like these guys get to such a point like so high, and you just never see that in any of the dubs.
Yeah, no, I agree. They fucking kill it, and that was such an iconic moment. Okay, so after they recap that fight, they go straight to back to class, back to the classroom, and not much really happens here because it moves pretty quickly, right? Like Aizawa comes in, like the students ask Todoroki if he's proud of his father, and he's kind of like, yeah, I guess.
Kind of keeping the same temperature he has had about him, and just kind of nonchalant.
And he's a man of many temperatures.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Killed it. Killed it. Killed it. You're welcome. I'm here all week. But yeah, then Aizawa comes up and he's like, yo, we're kicking it up a notch. Like, you better bring your A game, class 1A.
And that's great too, because that's where the show they nail the comedy, because he goes in, he just has like that that low attitude of like, all right, guys, like let's go, and everyone's like sitting in their chair, and he's just like, oh,
He's like,
oh
yeah,
okay,
all right.
okay.
You got it this time.
Oh, it's so good. The show just makes me laugh. Like it's the subtle things they do, and then they definitely try like for humor, but I find they do the subtle stuff really really well.
Yeah. So as he's saying, like, you got to bring your A game this year, they get the notice for an emergency drill.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes to the OP, the new opening theme. But we got to cover that. What do you think about it?
It's good. I like it.
I thought. Go ahead.
It seems similar to last year's. I find they have like a pretty. There's a kind of like a trending tone in their OPs.
Kind of consistent like that.
Very very consistent, like uniquely sounding, like in their own way. I will say the exit song is where all my love is going to.
Yeah.
I love the closing song for this season.
Yeah, the opening, my only thought I remember having specifically was that I was like, okay, a slow start, I'm not sure, but then the second half of it I really, really liked. Mm-hmm. Really picks up.
I do like the first 5 seconds. It kind of, right as the vocals kick in, there's it starts off and there's like a couple beats, and then he kind of hits like a higher note, and that's where the song kind of like kicks out. That I think that's my favorite part. It's like I like little vocal flourishes like that, but visually itself though, I always love when an anime, their OP, like it kind of tells a story. It's not just like random like shots of like this action shot and this action shot. Like it's kind of telling a story, and both the OP and then the exit as well do that.
Yeah, they're both definitely thematic. I agree.
Yeah, which is nice, and it's like in the world, because I think to think back, like when I was watching Fire Force, there's just like random moments, and it's like you watch the final episode of that season, you're like, I haven't seen that villain. I don't know who that guy is. Like, yeah. I don't like the teasing stuff in the OP. I'm there for the music and just kind of show me like the overall, like introduce the characters and all that. But it's good. I don't know. It's they've always had great OPs.
Yeah, consistently good.
Mm-hmm.
Following that, the first thing that I like literally took note of was Lita being Lita.
Yeah.
I fucking love that dude is class president.
Yeah. They all fit into the roles so well.
I was going to say, like, he's so perfectly suited to that shit.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, like, it just makes me laugh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you know this character so well.
Mm-hmm.
And he hits that note so well.
Yeah. That's the thing too. Like it's, and we're kind of going back, but there's so many characters that we have to like keep an eye on and work with, and it's just nice to see them. Every one of them kind of just works in their own way. Like there's not of like class 1A, there's not a single one of them that like annoys me. Like there's no character I hate in this show like so far. Usually like even like is it Minata, like the grape juice there. Like he's playing like the horny, like the horny character of the show, but like even then, like he fits his role. He has his moments and he's funny, and it's really good stuff. And like Ida's the perfect, like he is the class president. Like we have all known someone like Ida. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, no, 100%. He crushes that role. And this is where they really start to like remind you of who's who. Like it starts with Lita, and then it starts like I think he's actually the one that says, okay, like let's do some recon.
Yeah.
And then they like, the specific quirks start coming out to gather intel. I love that whole sequence.
Oh, it's the best sequence of the episode by far is their introductions. And it's not just like like the frame stops and it introduces them and all that, but like it's them in motion and action. Like it's progressing, through the episode, which I really, really like, as the plan is kind of progressing, and, teamwork is at the forefront of this episode, and I love to see that. So,
yeah, it feels like a really teamwork-oriented episode, but more or less the whole way through.
Yeah.
And it also feels like they may have leveled up a little bit. Like I forget the guy's name who can generate different body parts through his like wings.
Oh yes.
He had a ton more eyeballs than usual. It felt like, I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't know if they explicitly say there's been like how much time there's been since like this was it the concert they did, or there's a name for it, the festival.
Yeah, well, the official. Yeah, I don't know about the festival. It's a good point. What I was going to say is, like, the official synopsis they released, it does specify that this is the day after Endeavor's fight. But, like,
Okay. How much time was there between the Endeavor? Because the Endeavor fight came after the music festival.
yeah, I just don't know how closely. You know what I mean? Those two things were.
But even then, like, they're all. There's
They've
a
been at it
reason
for a while.
they've been at it for a while, but there's, like, narrative wise, they're all in this class for a reason, right? Like, they're kind of. I think that's the whole idea of class 1A. They're kind of like cream of the crop.
Yeah,
I think 1A is always like where the superheroes end up becoming. They come out of that class. That's just the vibe I got from early seasons. Like I said, it's been a while, but yeah, no, like, from the reconnaissance team, and then it goes to, like, the forward team, and then like Bakugo and excuse me, Bakugo and
Does he grab Red Riot?
Red Riot and the shock guy. Fuck,
yeah.
there's so many names to remember in this show. Bear with us, folks.
Yeah.
We're gonna be jumping back and forth between their actual names and their hero names, but and then, like, they just, like, I love his line of let the extras take care of that. We're going for the goal line. It's just the way he's hit that line of let the extras deal with that.
Yeah,
dude, made me laugh.
Bakugo is barely in this episode, but he tends to steal, like, every scene that he's in.
In my opinion, he stole the episode at the end of the episode. Yeah, we'll get to that.
Lemillion plays the victim.
Oh, that is some funny shit, right?
Do you think that he gets his powers back, or do you think he's hopeless?
Ooh, that's big picture. I don't know. That's really big picture. That could be. That's the thing too. Like, there's so much manga to, like, come to, like, this show's gonna be on for a long time.
Yeah, dude. Like, we were talking off air. It sounds like I saw that, like, they're entering their final arc, but, like, that's hundreds of manga chapters later.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we should mention, I think we did, but we're anime onlys, right? So we have no idea what's gonna happen. And at the pace they're going, it sounds like they've got at least 3 or 4 seasons left.
I would, yeah, if not more. Like, they could definitely milk it out, and this show just has star power on it. Like, it's, this is, I think we had talked to, a few episodes ago. I think we were just kind of comparing shows, but, like, this is like a blockbuster, like, whereas Attack on Titan is more of like an event, like singular event, kind of wrapping up a story. This is years to come. Like, we're still, even though we're in season 5, which is crazy, we're still very early days. So there's lots of room to go forward.
Is this like Martin Scorsese's, like, controversial comment of, like, oh, well, those, Attack on Titan is film, but My Hero Academia is a theme park?
That's so fucking stupid. That's such a silly hill to die on. Like, anyway, I won't touch that. But, like,
I love that he never backed down either. Like, he was on a press tour for that comment, and it got brought up obviously every episode, or every interview, and every time he was like, "Well, yes, I did mean that, actually." And what I mean is, and then he elaborates and just keeps going.
Yeah, it's so silly. Like, who cares? Like, you like what you like. It blows my mind that someone like that can't understand that someone could like a show like My Hero Academia, for example, and also love his movies. Like, it's such a big world. Like, fucking old man. Anyways, love him. All time great. But no, it's the Lemillion, his powers back. They kind of, because they tease that at the end of season 4 with Ares. Because Lemillion is just the avatar of positivity and open-mindedness. So, he said, maybe Aria will get a better grip of her powers, and then I'll get mine back. Like, that could be,
that if there is, like, a plot mechanic for it, that would definitely be the way, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or maybe you make a different kind of bullet that shoots it back into him. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And thinking too, because I obviously I watched a couple of recap videos of just prior stuff, and All Might had that buddy who was in the police force. Remember, who was like didn't have powers, just like a regular guy, but he's like a detective. Like that could be kind of like that could be like, if Lemillion never gets his powers back, he's always going to be like a big person in the world.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't need a quirk at this point to be involved. Like, this episode is a good example, right?
Exactly. Like, he's still there to help. He's still very much involved in the world of, like, the heroes versus the villains and all that. Like, Lemillion is I had forgot, after watching these recaps, I forgot how much how cool of a character he was. Like his fight scenes, you know that,
Dude, when he took it to Overhaul, I was like,
yeah,
what?
and even getting to Overhaul, there's I forget the villain's name, but there's the guy that's can meld into the walls and he can control the floor,
disorients you and all that.
and but like Lemillion was able to like get away and kind of like dodge that and get to Overhaul, and it's such a shame, but like he's now, it's nice because like he's big time comic relief, but he's also like very well crafted. He's not like one note, and they even took his power away from him. So like I'm curious to see what more of him we get to see going forward. Like I hope it's not just like a sad. He would never be a sad sack, but like I hope it's just not like everyone around him feeling bad for him the whole time, because I think that would get boring.
Yeah,
but
no, I feel you.
Yeah.
So he's eventually saved by Froppy and Grape Juice and Folk. So they grab him, and it's like in this instance where like they're saving him, and then there's like another fire because Todoroki puts out the first fire.
Mm-hmm.
But then another fire comes up, and then they save Lemillion, and then Todoroki and Naval Laser put out the second fire. This is like where the episode really picks up its pace, and you just get teamwork, like just like people combining their quirks,
and they're all talking.
Done.
Yeah, they're all communicating. That's the big thing. Like they can work and communicate, because that was kind of their problem, or like maybe 2 seasons ago. Because that's the thing too. Like a big part of season 4 was them raiding the stronghold, and that was I don't think it was the whole cast, but it was like Froppy and Uraka and Deku. Who else was there?
Lemillion,
Red Riot was there. Lemillion was there. Like the big 3 were there, and then that was like their first like super. I guess they were there for like the one or all for one fight and all that.
They have their provisional licenses now, right? Like they can officially operate like to help.
Well, yeah, because they were working for Night Eye, and I think so like they learned a lot on that mission, and now they're kind of, that was probably like valuable experience for everyone as a whole to have like been on a mission like that, and they're able to bring that back to the classroom and work with everyone.
Yeah, hopefully we get more of that this season. Like I know that my understanding is that this season looks pretty school oriented, but I hope that they get like some missions on the side and get to do more of that type of stuff.
I think so. Yeah, because I'm assuming this is going to be another 2-parter.
Yeah, just probably safe.
I think going forward, just the state of COVID and kind of how the industry is kind of managing itself. I wouldn't be surprised if like there's going to be a significant second storyline in the part 2, like probably next year or whatever. But yeah, like you said, probably it's going to be I'm assuming it's going to be very school oriented for the next little while.
Yeah,
but
that makes sense. So then the villains finally show up. And I have a slight moment of confusion. I did watch the episode back, but I couldn't quite figure this out. So the villains are part of like the top 3, right?
The big 3.
Yeah, the big 3. So there's Hado. I think that's the girl that can like fly and like uses like kind of like a psychic kind of quirk. I forget.
She has like a beam energy.
Yeah. And then there's the other guy who I'm much more familiar with. Amajiki. Sorry with the name.
That's the food guy.
Yeah, but he can change his body, like his limbs, into like different body parts, right? Like he has like an octopus as a hand.
It's based on what he eats.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah. But then they keep saying like, oh, not the big 3, but like, are they counting Lemillion in there as the big? Like...
Well, he was, but I think if he hadn't lost his powers, he probably would have been there.
Okay, because like,
he was there, but he would have been maybe in a fighting capacity.
Yeah, because I was like, but there are only 2 villains.
Yes.
In this situation, but they just kept saying, "Oh no, not the big 3." But I was like, "Yeah, but there's only 2 of them." So
but they're
saying that they were part of the big 3.
Well, that's what they're known for. Like they're like their third years. Like I think they're in their final year. I think that's what they alluded to.
Yeah. They're like the seniors. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I think that's just what they're known for. They're like, oh shit, the big 3 is here. Like it's just because not 3 of them were there. I think it was just like that's like their group's name. Yeah. They're still like a part of that. It's like if 2 members of the League of Villains showed up, they would still say the League of Villains is here.
True that. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yep, I got you. As they show up, they take Pinky hostage. And it's devastating.
This was, I will say, not bad.
No,
but it's
not bad.
No, but I found this is where the pacing came to like a huge halt.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
It's
There's some weird
slowed.
cuts. Yeah.
There's some weird cuts, but like, you know, it put me right back in it. I was like, okay, what are we gonna do? You gotta get her back. But then like, there's a quick cut, and they go right back into comedy because Lemillion throws himself back into the water. He's like,
I'm falling
oh
back in the
no,
water.
look what happened.
It's the voice. It gets me. It's just,
Yeah.
oh no.
Oh no, look what happened. I'm in so much trouble again.
Oh, right? It's every time he talks, it's right. Oh, you saved me, right?
Guess
I
you
fell
have
back
to
into the water.
do me a save all over again.
It's so fucking good. I love it.
And then it's back to Amajiki, and he's like, I want to go home. He
I love
literally
that.
starts walking away.
They keep going back to the wall. You can't leave. I think because that's the line. Is I'm not sure who says it, but it's like, or what do you want? And he's like, I want to go home.
Yeah.
He starts turning around, and walking away.
But they do some cool teamwork. Class 1A. They throw up some pretty killer teamwork to restrain Hado, and they get Pinky back.
Which was cool because Amajiki, he makes the line of where's the invisible girl? Like it shows they're smart, like they're heroes too. Like they're obviously not villains, but like, you know, they're on the same level as the rest of the cast. Like
because
of
I
1A.
missed that. I was like, wait, what invisible? Oh, right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like, it shows like everyone's, and that's the thing too. And there's that weird moment. This is probably the weirdest thing when they save Pinky, but Deku pulls his punch.
Yep.
And it's just like, oh, fuck, are we getting more of this? Like, you know, like, I know he's trying to be, like, the greatest hero and all. I love Midoriya. Like, all time. He's one of my favorite characters in anime. Probably will be forever. But it's like, dude, you're in training. Like, don't pull your punch, you know? Like, just obviously don't go 100% on the guy and blow his head off. But, you know what I mean? Like, it's...
But he gets punished for it. Because I think Amajiki decks him, right?
Yeah, like, how dare you? Like, why did you pull your punch? Like, I'm a villain right now.
But it does lead to the great finishing sequence of Red Riot coming in with Bakugo in tow in a car powered by the electric kid.
Hot-wired the car.
Yeah, I fucking love that. That was killer. The ending to the episode is probably the best.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because Bakugo comes in, looks like a badass, and he brings Amajiki to the floor. And you're like, all right, like, I feel like we've really come far. This is like a really good teamwork moment, like success. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he ruins everything.
Absolutely everything. And just the way, like, you're a villain till the end. And it was funny because, like, they had called, like, it was officially over. Like, the call had gone out. And when he just, like, explodes, you see, like, the nuke in the background. And it just cuts to All Might and freaking Asita. Freaking anyway, and or
even the
Azoa
smoke,
and,
the smoke from a distance looks like a skull.
Yeah,
the
detail they put into Bakugo's face when he's screaming at the top of his lungs is top tier.
I agree. That was a really, really good shot. In particular, I was like, holy fuck.
And just them walking out like all dazed from like the nuke that just went off in their vicinity. That it's just
they all look different. All their hair is all zapped and like smoked.
Yeah, love Bakugo.
Love me some Bakugo. They use him just the right amount. Like, they have really figured out when they do too much.
Yeah.
And when not to, you know what I mean? Like,
he's got that Vegeta energy.
Yeah, he does. But, like, it's their usage of him that is so good. Because, like, you know what this looks like when it's done kind of badly? And I'm not hating, because it's one of my favorites.
Okay.
But it's Zenitsu from Demon Slayer.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's a drastic, extremely loud character that, like, steals every scene, but, like, you can't have him on screen screaming for 4 minutes straight.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, they just, like, drop him here and there. And then, if they want to have, like, a Bakugo-centric episode, then they, like, dial him down.
That's
you can't do that all the time. It's just, it won't be as funny or as cool.
No, exactly. And that's, you know, and, like, in comparison to like Zenitsu, like he's always on. Like he does not have those moments where he is quiet and like, you know, there's, you know, he's a part of like the discussion or whatever, you know. But Bakugo is like, he has those quiet moments where he can kind of, you know, flourish, and you can get like, oh, you can enjoy the quiet with him in the room in the shot.
Yeah, one of my favorite arcs in the whole series is when he's kidnapped by the League of Villains.
Oh,
and you get a completely different version of that character, right? Like he's still him, but he's not him.
Well, it's another one too is in kind of when him and Deku have that fight, and but like when All Might has to break it up at the end. I think he beats Deku when they're. I think it would be the end of season 3.
Yeah, it's like that fight like at night with no teachers present.
Yeah, they're not in suits, just the two of them like regular gear and all that, and they're kind of just thrashing on each other. And like you can tell he's angry and he's yelling, but he still has those moments like one-on-one with them where he's kind of like toned down a little bit. That's and it's like what you said. When you have a loud character and they have a moment to like be quiet and kind of show off more character, it's good shit.
Yeah. So that wraps up the episode, but there's a post-credit scene. You caught that shit, right?
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
Imagine if you missed that.
That'd be a big one.
It's like, actually, no, I didn't. What was it? Was it a neat, just an extra bit of song?
Tell me about it.
Post-credit scene. We go to Endeavor in the hospital. And they flash back. He flashes back. He's thinking about his fight. And it's shown that he talks to Hawks about how like he did the All Might pose, but he's like, well, I used a different arm though, so
I used the left, or he used the left.
Yeah, it's kind of totally different when you think about it that way. But then it's shown we see that Dobby showed up on the scene, who is like a pretty killer villain. Big
time. Not much has been seen of him. He's only like he's around enough, but you don't get a lot out of him.
It seems like I don't know if he's going to be the big bad, but it seems like they're setting him up to be in more focus this season.
I think so. Yeah.
Shigaraki hasn't gone anywhere, right? But Overhaul's gone.
He's still running the show.
One for All is still in prison.
Yes.
But presumably, probably more Dobby and Shigaraki this season. Mm-hmm. And then it's shown that Hawks and Dobby have met behind closed doors, and that's like the cliffhanger of this episode.
Do you know when they should have done this?
When? At the end
of season 4.
They should have put this. They should have stuck this credit scene at the end of that finale.
Absolutely.
Because that's a great post-credit scene.
Yeah.
It's almost out of place.
It seemed very out of place. Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good point. They absolutely should have stuck it.
Or even open the episode with that.
Yeah.
And then cut to the class. Like, then having them talk. Like, there's that moment, cuts to black, and then it, cuts to classroom. They're asking Todoroki about his dad, and then the alarm goes off, for the test. I think that would be... Honestly, until you brought it up and we're talking about it now, that's what they absolutely should have done. That makes way more sense as we talk about it. But
I hadn't even thought of it, but you're totally right.
Yeah.
That said, we're going to jump right into episode 2 of season 5. So we're not going to speculate. Normally, we'll be on our schedule after this episode of the podcast, and we're going to cover one of these every week.
Yeah.
But we have to do this to catch up. So I'm going to take us right into season 5, episode 2. After their fight with the Nomu, Hawks and Endeavor make their way home. Hawks' allegiances are revealed, and Endeavor begins to work on his relationship with his family. Midoriya dreams of All for One and the vestiges of One for All. Good episode.
Oh, yeah. Very two good episodes back to back.
This one much more in line of just the main narrative of the whole show, right? Or at least like the current plot with Endeavor and Hawks doing their thing. And then, there's kind of this overarching thing that's, over the whole series, which is Midoriya, All for One, and One for All, right? Mm-hmm. Not a lot of shows do that, or at least they don't do this very well, where you have, a series plot that goes from A all the way to Z, but you can have seasons with their own dedicated arcs in between it all.
The show, it's very long in the tooth. You know what I mean? There's so much time. There's a lot of filler too. I forgot how much filler there was in this show. But that's the thing too. I think that's just the way these types of shows are marketed, and they try to jam pack as much in as they can.
Yeah.
Sometimes for the benefit, sometimes for not. But that would be my one thing. This is kind of we were just talking about episode 1, but I find there's some weird editing in this episode as well. Mm-hmm. But I'm just chalking that up to getting the ball rolling. There's some stuff they need to get out of the way. You know what I mean? I find the beginning makes sense with Hawks, Hawks and Dobby and all that. But yeah, but then obviously we're gonna get to the rest of the stuff with Todoroki, but it's, I don't know, also a very good episode, beautiful, and that's the great thing about this show. Like the animation style is gonna be consistent from beginning to end.
It's incredibly consistent. I was actually gonna say that was the first thing I noticed, but like last episode was great, but this one specifically, out of the two, episode 2 has insane animation. Like there's not like, I don't think there's any fights actually in this whole episode, or there's like flashbacks and stuff.
Sure.
But really cool shots, really good animation. In this encounter, the way the episode kicks off is Endeavor remembering the end of his fight again, and Dabi shows up, and when Dabi like does his like blue fire thing and encircles them all in flame, that is a killer, like really, really cool scene and really cool sequence.
They've always, anytime Dabi's on screen, they've always just like cranked the budget up a little bit. Like it's very rare to have like non-spectacle moments with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It always seems like those blue, like any chance they got him, it's almost like the character's like a contract. Like if he is on screen, light that fucker up.
Yeah, it's like he's like the Levi of My Hero Academia. Like, we warned you.
Oh, that's so funny.
So for a moment there, it looks dire, but like we kind of know that obviously Endeavor makes it out because he's remembering this, right? But it looks like Hawks and Endeavor are both not really at fighting strength, but then they get some reinforcements from Mirko. This lady, this jacked lady with her quirk makes her jacked, I guess. She comes in and throws, just kind of, scares him off more or less, because then Dabi teleports out. He like calls his buddy who teleports him out. Did you know
big
this?
shadow dude.
Yeah, so did you know Mirko before?
So the only reason I know of Mirko is on the Boku no My Hero Academia, whatever the name is for the subreddit. Like when season 4 was airing, I would go onto the subreddit and just kind of like read the anime, like what happened that week and see what people are talking about, like the anime only threads and all that. But like Attack on Titan has good like fan art and stuff like that, but like the fan base for My Hero Academia is unreal. And I would just I would get lost in the subreddit and just watch all the this actually kind of goes with Hawks as well. Prior to like seeing him in the show, there would just be artwork of Hawks and Mirko. I'm like, who the fuck are these two? Like, and it's always those two. You always see people doing art of them. And I was like, well, they must be coming. And that was the thing too. Like when I had started watching season 4, part 1, I was like, when's this rabbit chick going to show up? Like people, it was always like best girl, my girl, like my favorite, best care, my hero. Like people fucking love this chick.
Interesting.
And so when I was watching this episode, I was like, okay, there we go. It only took 2 years later. But it was the same thing for Hawks. Like I would see tons of artwork and I was like, I have no clue who this guy is. And I don't want to dig in, further because I don't want to spoil it for myself. But yeah, so when I saw her, it was kind of nice. I was like, yes, there we go. We got some substance to, what I've seen. So
good to connect the dots. Yeah, it's cool. That subreddit is incredibly active. There's so much cool fan art on there. That's where we found at Sean and Kato for this episode. And we're going to keep interacting with you guys. We're new to that community, but everyone has been super, super nice so far. So you will see more of us there. So Dabi exits. And then I believe we go to the OP. And I remember I made a special note. And I was like, yeah, okay, this opening theme is already growing on me.
It's groovy. And you know what? This is going back. I had made a note of this. I forgot to bring it up. The music in this show, I hate to keep comparing to Attack on Titan, but it's just two different. It's so interesting to see two shows like within the same industry, but different styles have different philosophies when it comes to music. And art style is like its own, that's a whole other conversation. But when it comes to music philosophy of usage, My Hero Academia, maybe it's just me, but I think it's more used in the undertone moments where like Attack on Titan is like great for like across the board. It's very kind of subtle. And then when it gets like big and bombastic, it kind of pops up. My Hero Academia is really good at having like these like really epic moments epic sounding tone and music for even like not that like crazy moments. but then it's jacked right up. When they did like the rehash of the end, the high, or the Nomu, I think it's called High End or End High,
Yeah.
and Endeavor fight, and then Hawks fight, like just like the soaring guitar, like the solos, like just playing in the background. I was like, fucking A, man. Like,
Dude,
this is good shit. And this episode too, like when Mirko saves their ass, like the musical cues and the OP, it's so groovy, it's so drum and bass heavy, which is just my wheelhouse. Like I love as raw and like a distorted but like a clear but kind of like grungy bass tone with just like a fast, like, you know, like just hitting that snare, like, you know, like it is. That's the great thing about this show. Like there isn't much effort put into the music. It's all part of the package. You know what I mean? Whereas like Attack on Titan, I think it's like the story and that's where all the scope is, and then everything else is just kind of nice little flourishes.
Yeah.
My Hero music has to be a big, like the studio. That must be a huge part of the conversation of like what goes where at what time, just to really amplify the scene. Like it's so rocky. It's so I don't know, man. It's good. The OP.
No, I agree, man. They do a really
Bit of
good
a
job.
rant. Yeah.
No, it's because it's good shit. Like I agree, they enhance a lot of their scenes really, really well with the soundtrack. I'd forgot how much fun, like even like the Hawks scenes in the finale of season 4 were. Like him getting people out of the building with the feathers, him boosting Endeavor. Like the music was great throughout that entire ending sequence. So yeah, we're on the same page there. So then speaking of which, then we go to Hawks and Dobby. And here, you know, I'm interested in your thoughts here, because it's revealed that like Hawks and Dobby are like kind of working together, sort of conspiring, right?
Yeah.
It's revealed that they had discussed and prearranged the actual attack by the Nomu, but at the last minute, Dobby, like a good villain, like, you know, changed a couple of the key details, like the when, the where, and how strong the Nomu would be.
There was some good mental gymnastics between the two of them in that scene.
Yeah, that was like a fun scene
Yeah.
with lots of like tension, and you know, like Dobby's like, "Oh, you can't meet the boss yet." You know what I mean? Like you could almost tell that Hawks was undercover, but Hawks also like kind of says like, you know, I have my own reasons for wanting to support you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I loved that scene.
Oh yeah, I bought it. It seemed believable to me.
I just don't know if I bought or if I love that they immediately renege all of it in the following scene. They're immediately like, so anyway, he's undercover. Like, do you think it might have been a bit better if they like kind of led us to believe that that you couldn't trust him for a little bit before they bust the whole he's a double agent thing?
Yeah. Well, yes, I think so. I think that would have had more substance to it if that was the case. But you know, they're long seasons, so I'm wondering, like, just because the storylines kind of move so quick, like there's so many arcs within a single season a lot of the time. Just from my like assessment, it could just be like they got to move the story forward,
right?
You know, like we got to get to the next thing, and like we'll be way past this.
Maybe this is just like one of many bullet points.
Yeah, it could be that. Like I said, like, you know, it's like, well, you said, I think it would have made a lot more sense. And I think, you know, it would have been more digestible if it, like, down the road, we're like, oh, yes, he was a good guy. Thank goodness, you know? But I don't know. I didn't mind it as much. It's funny. I watched it and I was like, oh, I bet this is getting brought up one day. Because it did seem weird. And I was like, but, you know, it is what it is. Like, it's not.
Well, maybe looking back, like you said, it'll make sense based on the scope of the season.
But what I have not a problem with, but what I found weird, like when it cuts to him, like I say, they renege everything that was just said, and they go, and I don't remember these two people that he's talking to. I'm assuming they're police, or I don't know what association or who they are really.
Yeah, I guess like they're high up with the Hero League. I was like,
yeah.
I don't know if I'm supposed to know.
I didn't recognize them at all, and I did find it weird of like the justification of why he was perfect to be the one undercover. Like they had said some stuff, and it was like it was like we were being talked at, and I was like, okay, all right,
I guess he's perfect because he told me so.
Yeah, and that's what it was. It was like it's like you're trying to tell me why, but I still like I don't really
we just
see what
barely
you're getting at.
we barely know Hawks, right? So it feels like he's clearly going to be more of a prominent character this season.
Yeah,
Since they introduced him so late in last season, it's like, if we knew him half as well as we know any of the Class 1A characters, we'd be like, oh yeah, of course he's perfect for it.
Exactly.
But we just don't know that. So I guess maybe they're just trying to ham-fist him in, and it'll all make sense once we're kind of through the arc. But,
yeah, so that was the only weird thing, but the actual act of like it cutting straight, which is kind of like, would it be double negative or hypocritical? Like I'm okay with the fact that he is good, but the way they justified him being the reason it's the double agent, that's what I didn't buy. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm down with that. The next thing that was super noteworthy was this awesome shot of Dobby by the water.
Just looking out on the harbor, yeah.
Yeah, but then actually I wanted to ask you about this. So he remembers killing Snatch because at the beginning of the episode, Endeavor goes, like Dobby says to Endeavor, like, oh, we've never met before. And Endeavor's like, yeah, aren't you the one who killed Snatch? And then Dobby remembers killing this guy named Snatch. Are we supposed to know who Snatch is?
Snatch is the dude that was assigned to watch Overhaul in the ambulance. Yeah, and he gets turned. He's technically still alive. I think he got turned into one of those orbs by the dude that lost his arm. He's a League of Villains. I'm forgetting. I'm blanking on his name. The guy with the top hat.
Yeah, the guy who
magician guy.
Fucking orbs.
Yeah, that dude. I think so. I think Snatch might be still alive. I think they're setting up him being out there somewhere.
Interesting.
Presumably in one of these said marbles or orbs.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Yeah. That I was confused by that. Like it just.
There is in the episode. There is a very like a blink and you miss it quick shot of him being. You see an orb flying out of the ambulance on the highway.
Okay. See. Yeah. I blinked and I missed it.
It's super quick. Like I was surprised they even put it in.
Fucking Endeavor full of scars. How you
Big
feel
time.
about that face scar? Because he checks out of the hospital and he looks
pretty fitting. He looks like his son.
Yeah, kind of, eh? But he kept the eye. I was kind of thinking they would take the eye. Give me like a Thor Ragnarok, like cut it right out.
No, I'm glad they kept the eye.
Instead, he's got this badass scar.
Yeah, pretty gnarly. It's gnarly. Like it's not like Todoroki's where it's kind of symmetrical to his face. This thing is just very noticeable. It's also weird seeing him without his fire beard, which I've never liked Endeavor. So just because he was like an asshole and like they wanted him to look like that, and then obviously now they're trying to make him likable, a la Gabby, in a but like, and they're kind of winning me over a little bit, but but like visually, he was one of my least favorite characters in the show. I was like, that Firebeard looks ridiculous. Like I was never a fan of that.
They did, so that's kind of like the next beat is he goes home to see his kids. And my memory is hazy. I mean, I remember that he was an awful father and he has a fucked up relationship with all of his kids, particularly Shoto. Mm-hmm. So are these supposed like crimes or sins that he's committed? Is it mostly what? Like we know that he specifically married that, his wife or their mother because he wanted to combine quirks and have like the ultimate kid. Is that the idea? Because
he had said that I think it might be a couple episodes, but they kind of like breadcrumbed us throughout the series a little bit. They went back to the Endeavor thing, and from what I remember, and there's one thing I'm a little hazy on, but I always thought that the mom was sick, and he was kind of more or less forcing her into having more kids to get like the bioengineering right, to get said quirk and Shoto
basically
to get Shoto. Exactly, and I think Shoto's the youngest.
Yeah, Shoto's the youngest, but the first two kids maybe just like weren't home runs.
Exactly, but like he was like but I know he was so obsessed. Like I think Endeavor had come to terms with the fact that he would never surpass All Might. So his like, he would call passion, but his like his obsession of like getting Shoto was to create a hero of like combining two quirks to like surpass All Might. I think that was his goal, and he was kind of obsessed by that. That's just what I remember. But and then I think like because the mom, that was the thing I forgot too. The mom is the one that gave Shoto the scar. Like and that's why she's in like a mental hospital.
She was like losing her shit, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing too. The thing I'm not sure is she may or may not have been sick. I can't remember.
I think she was. Yeah, I think they definitely hinted her being sick and frail and just like overwhelmed and stressed, probably as a result of like all the pressure that Endeavor was putting on her.
Yeah,
and then she made mistakes, and one of those mistakes was like injuring Shoto.
Yeah, she had like a weird moment where so she threw boiling water on his face, but that's a raw deal.
Yeah, but that happens to the best of us.
Yeah. But yeah, so so it's I think this is going to be the forefront probably for a couple episodes. Do you okay, here's a question to you. Do you hope they wrap this up in like 3-4 episodes, or do you think this is like a good consistent arc for like the next 12 or like 14 episodes?
I don't think I want like, and don't get me wrong, like I'm down to explore this relationship. I think like that's what Shoto basically says. He says, I can't forgive you, but I'm willing to see how things go from here.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to see how things go. I don't know if I want a therapy session every episode, but I think we're going to have Endeavor around more anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm super down to get to know more about his character. Mm-hmm. It would be cool to see what Shoto looks like if he's interested in entertaining the idea of hanging out with Endeavor. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there's some fun partnership, duality type. There's some fun stuff you could do with that. But like, just in small doses. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't want 5 minutes for 10 episodes, and I don't want 15 minutes for 4 episodes. You know what I mean? Like, I want it to find its like spot. Like, it kind of found its spot in this episode. That was like a 4 or 5 minute scene.
It was just about to get too long.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say it was getting there. And that's the other thing too, like total sidebar. The audio in the scene where he goes home was so fucked. It was up and down, up and down. Like I must have had my hand on the remote for the entire scene. It was up and down, up and down. Like,
I didn't notice that.
Anytime the siblings talked, way too loud. Anytime Shoto and his dad would talk, it would be like it just seemed like the mix was off. And I honestly thought my TV was acting spooky on me. I was like, not now. Like, please not now. let's get. I want to get through this episode. Like, not in the middle of the episode. But yeah, I don't know what it was. It was weird, very weird.
It was. I liked the argument between the eldest son.
Yeah.
And well, not the argument, just the eldest son yelling at
Natsuo, I think his name is.
Natsuo, yeah. And I like, Endeavor's like inner monologue, suggesting like, oh, it's all for my kids now.
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever, bro. We'll see.
But he did have and I think we might have glazed over, and it might be worth kind of backtracking a little bit. He does have moments of, this is not. He didn't get to number 1 the way he wanted to get there. Like he had done all these years of doing it one way. Like, again, he was so obsessed with getting to number 1.
Yeah.
For him to have the clarity to kind of sit back and be like, okay, I'm here now. I got it. Like, I think it's a nice thing to see in a character. He got what he got, and he's not still like chasing after it after he's gotten it.
A little bit of self-awareness. Yeah.
Exactly. He has the self-awareness to know, okay, I do have it. Now how do I use this? Or how do I move forward? Like, in the new path, and which is nice to see in a character, because he was clearly obsessed with getting to number 1. Like, the beef him and All Might had was very interesting. That was the nice thing too. Like, those scenes over the years of All Might and Endeavor were really good. You can see how, like, as Endeavor gets closer, like, is slowly getting closer to that number 1 spot, you can slowly see the character change. And we're there, and we've arrived at the station. So it's
I think one of the best scenes that Endeavor had was, or like one of the best glimpses we got was when All For One, or All Might, I should say, was having his fight with All For One in like season 3 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When it becomes clear that he's losing his powers.
Yeah.
And Endeavor says to himself, he's like, I've always been number 2, but like only I am aware of how huge the gap is between 1 and 2, right? It's like everybody's really close all the way up to number 2, and then there was like number 2, and then like a football field later,
there might be 1,000 more space, like 1,000 more spots between them.
And it felt like you said, like he kind of has a bit of self-awareness. He didn't really win it the way he wanted to. It's not like he took the belt off the champ. He sort of inherited it. But yeah, I think that you're right. Like that process gave him a little bit of self-awareness, and now he's kind of reevaluating his priorities, especially after having such a close fight.
Yeah.
Like you see that stuff all the time, right? Some people.
And if it wasn't for Hawks too, he would have lost that fight.
100%.
And another cool thing, because when they again, we had said we didn't like the scene all that much, but when we kind of get the backstory on Hawks, it was cool that when it shows him as a kid and he saves all those people in that incident, he's holding an Endeavor toy. He's not holding an All Might toy.
I did. Yeah, that's a good point. We should have mentioned that. Yeah.
So
he had fans. Yeah.
Yeah, big time. Like he's, and he was probably so bullheaded that he wasn't number one. He didn't realize, and they kind of do a little thing that he should be interacting with fans more. Because that's like a whole big thing to me. And that's the thing I totally forgot about the show is the ranking system and how because this is going way back to Stain. Stain was like, what is with this hero? Like, what's with the ranking system? Like,
the obsession.
This isn't about money. This should be about saving people. And he was trying to obviously went about his own way to Kirby. How dope was Stain?
Stain was such a good villain, dude.
Yeah,
I would love him to come back.
Well, he's not dead. He's in prison, right?
Yeah. They locked him up. So I'd love him to come back.
He's we're due there, and that's the other. Well, we can take a second there. There are some excellent villains in this show.
Yep.
Not like it's very rarely you get a one-note villain in this show. Even the Twice and even Toga.
Oh, Twice is so fun.
Yeah, Twice is good, and and Overhaul and all his crony.
Overhaul was so great. Obviously, All For One is killer. Shigaraki has like layers to him.
Oh, we've yet to see Shigaraki come into his own. I'm really excited to see him. Like it's gonna be brutal, I imagine. But like that scene, we're all over the place here. But that scene where he corners Midoriya at the mall.
In the mall, fuck.
And he's like, if you scream, I'll start killing people. And like he knows right away, like, okay, I just got to eat this. And then like Uracha or Urara, I always forget her name. Uraka, yeah.
Ochokocho,
yeah. She shows up and he's like, oh hey, and like he can like he's an actor, like he's a villain. He knows how to put on like a fake face.
Yeah.
And go about his way. Just great villains in this show. But yeah, and like the Nomus too. Like High-End, this is the first time we've had a Nomu like at the end of season 4 that spoke.
Yeah,
he spoke,
and the voice acting for that was great. The way
spooky.
they made him stutter, and like he was like conscious, but you could tell he was like figuring out.
He was like a baby. He was like, I remember there's a line he goes, "Oh, do you have regenerative?" Like,
do you regenerate?
Do you have regenerative power? Like, it's so good. Like,
okay. So we get to the last scene of the episode, and Midoriya finishes training. He goes right to sleep. He passes right out, and this is like the last scene of the whole episode. It lasts several minutes, but we see Midoriya interacting or realizing that he's in a state where he can react or interact with all the vestiges, all the previous holders of One for All.
And All Might had mentioned that this would happen because there was a moment. Was it in the sports festival where they
saved his ass?
They saved his ass. He does like he flicks the fingers because he's fighting the dude from. Yes.
Yeah, he was fighting him, and he was gonna lose, and it feels like there was like a multi-layered consciousness that's with him because of the quirk, and he's connecting to that now.
Yes, and after the sports festival, he talks to All Might, and All Might's like, "Yeah, dude, that's normal. Like that's good."
Yeah. They see happen. Everything you do, bro.
Yeah, big time.
But yeah, that was this. I love this scene. I love diving into the lore of the quirk. I love anytime we learn more about All For One. And we got a full backstory, more or less. Yeah. We saw the origin of the villain, how he came to power. And
we have seen the scene before, though, have we not?
Yeah. I think
not in this in-depth.
Yes. We knew a lot of this, but there is one thing I didn't remember. And, oh my God, I'm so stuffed up. I'm sorry, guys. If you're like, does this guy sound like he's sick? It's like, yes, I'm fucking sick.
Allergy season, baby.
Yeah. Springtime's around the corner. Give me all that ragweed. Anyway, but Did All for One, did that quirk of One for All, did it get, was it given to the first holder by the villain? Because his brother was quirkless? Like, is that where it came from?
I think, and here's the thing, I had to tiptoe on the internet.
Yeah, good point.
But thankfully, the My Hero Academia crowd is a lot more forgivable and more forgiving on the web with what is like just openly talked about.
Yeah.
So I felt a little more safe. Again, I tiptoed nonetheless. I think he technically had a quirk, but it wasn't like. Again, I did, like, again, it was tiptoeing. Like, I really couldn't get in depth, but I believe he had a quirk, didn't know about it because it wasn't like an openly usable one. Something he couldn't readily access.
Yeah.
Was given a power which I think we still don't know about. And then because I think his quirk that he had was the quirk to pass on his power.
Oh.
I think that was what he had, and then he was given something by All for One.
And now, as a result, he like cultivates that power, and then he like passes it down.
Exactly. I think what the cultivation is his original quirk, and then he just has like what I'm assuming is just the all-encompassing power.
Yeah. So he had like the founding titan. And,
yeah. And he got the attack titan.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So that's cool.
I think again, no one hold me on that.
Yeah.
That was just my reading of the situation.
We'll Google it after the show and find out if we're tremendously wrong. And
in 8 years when the show is done, we'll come back and we'll reach out to everyone.
So yeah, that was like a really, really, really cool scene. We saw like All for One's rise to power.
Yeah.
Pretty dark.
It was very interesting to show. Well, sorry to cut you off, but like they did a really good job showing the potency of him as a villain, of being able to manipulate people. Like in a world where you're either one thing or you're not. You know,
dude. That was really well done.
Exactly. It was it really showed exactly where his evil stems from and his control of people.
Yeah.
And just excellent storytelling. Like, it's so simple. So simple.
Yeah, the two guys kneeling. I have this problem, but I have the other guy has that problem, and he's just like, all right, fucking trade. It'll fix. Right. It'll make you both happy. You know what I mean?
And then he follows it up of, if I ever need you, will you be there? And they're just like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Now you have unwavering loyalty. Like they're fucking Death Eaters.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That was a really
that's a good comparison. That is a good comparison.
Yeah,
the Death Eaters.
God, I'm so talented as fuck.
Oh my God, your brain must hurt all the time.
Yeah, that was just constantly swelling because I'm always comparing animes to science fiction novels.
Good shit.
But yeah, no, I agree. And obviously that scales, right? He did it once, and now then like you kind of fast forward, and he's just like kind of has like some ridiculous amount of power with a much bigger group of lackeys and an army, more or less, to such an extent that he throws his own brother into prison. Literally, just keeps him captive. Mm-hmm. And then the whole quirk thing happens.
And the cool thing is too, like, you can tell, like, they even hit it a couple times with like, brother, like, he keeps calling him frail, and he kind of shoots him down, but he's like, I still love you. Mm-hmm. You know, like, it shows like this is probably at a time where he wasn't, you know, he hadn't fully become what he is now. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing I forget too, like, it feels like every version of One for All, he has this closeness, because it always comes back to All for One. You know, it's always the two of them fighting. And All Might has that line. I can't remember when I think it's before the All Might and All for One fight, where he says, like, you need to know, like, you are going to be the one that goes toe to toe with this guy one day.
Yeah, you gotta
finish it. It keeps repeating itself, and like it's always going to be like these. At the end of the day, it's always going to be these two brothers. One actually, and then one like through time, like as it passes on. It's always going to be them coming head to head. So it's, I don't know. It's good shit. Really, really, like I said, really potent scene. Like they got all the bases of the power, and they teased a little bit of what's coming next. And
I'm glad that they did this relatively early in this season, because I saw, you know, like that was like the ending season. That was like one of the ending scenes of season 4.
Yeah,
and it's like clearly we're gonna explore this in season 5, but I was like, don't make me wait like 9 episodes of like, you know what I mean, just basic stuff before you get to this, because I'm very interested in this part of the narrative. Basically the last thing of the episode is there's this really interesting line that the original the original One for All guy says to Midoriya, and he says, "You're just barely past 20%. We're way past the singularity. You're not alone."
Head scratcher, real head scratcher.
Yeah, what? Like, I mean, you know, we get pieces of this, right? Like, you're barely past 20%. Like, he's using somewhere around that now of
20% has been a number we've heard for the past like season or two.
Yeah, so we know that he's getting better with it, so that makes sense. And then he goes, "You're not alone," and it's like, well, clearly, like he seems to be, he's learning somehow to communicate with the past owners of it, perhaps in a way. Maybe that's what he means. I don't know what the singularity bit is about whatsoever.
You know what I just realized?
What?
When he goes into that dream state, and we only see parts of him, only 20% of him is visible.
Oh, do you think that's what that is?
Maybe as he progresses his power, he'll be able to communicate with them.
Oh, because he has no mouth. Because he actually says, "I can't talk."
That's exactly what that. As if I just put that together.
That would make sense, because I was like, maybe I remember wanting to talk about that. Like, you can see some of the owners of One for All completely, but like there's 2 that you can't see at all.
The first 2, it looks like, yeah.
Yeah. So
and then the third one, who kind of looks like All Might, is like you can see a frame and some body features, but like you don't see like a full picture of him.
Interesting. So
which is gold.
Yeah. So it's interesting that like. Maybe is it because they're still alive, or they? I don't know what that is, but it's very interesting, right? Like,
and
but
you know
I
what?
think your 20% thing makes some sense.
And the slightly frustrating thing is, it's like you said, it's good they got it early in the season, but I feel like we're being teased some stuff that we are not going to see for quite some time.
Ugh,
which is a little, I don't know, I can just see it
possible.
coming down the pipe. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like they're going to give us this, and then like they'll hit it again at the end of the season.
This kind of feels like the basement in season 1 of Attack on Titan. A little bit, just a little bit, you know, because we've already had some of it. Like, this isn't like the first time we're seeing it, and we're all, you know, we'd be a lot more excited. But I don't know. I'm getting vibes. Like, I've watched enough of this by now. I'm kind of, you know,
long game.
Yeah, I think so, because that's the show. Like we talked about it like at the beginning of the podcast. Like, this show is going to be on for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, unless, like, God forbid, like, this, for whatever reason, this season is just, like, tanks and no one watches it, which is not going to happen. But, like, you know, it's, I don't know. It's a great episode. Very good. Like, they hit all the beats they needed to. And I think now going forward, I think the story is going to start acting normal next week.
Yeah, I think we're going to jump right into just, you know, whatever plot, whatever narrative they want to spin for the season.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to be covering this week to week.
Yeah.
That pretty much wraps up this episode.
I think so, yeah.
If you guys are new to the podcast, thank you for listening. Obviously, this one's a little bit longer than it will be going forward. Because we had to do a double episode today to cover episodes 1 and 2.
Yeah, we've been chasing our tail for the past few weeks.
Yeah, you know, Attack on Titan had like a week-long delay where they went on hiatus, and then they had a double episode, and because of that, their finale overlapped with My Hero. And anyway, all of that to say, next week we're going to release an episode every day on the same week, usually on Wednesdays. So next time you hear us, it'll be a shorter episode. We'll only be covering one episode at a time. And then who knows, maybe beyond that we'll have like some post-show stuff where we discuss other stuff. We're going to kind of experiment and see how it all goes. But as far as My Hero Academia Season 5 goes, we'll be here every week.
Right on, guys. Can't wait to see you again next week.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening. Don't hesitate to like, comment, subscribe, join the conversation. If not, we'll see you on the subreddits and on social media. Please give the podcast a follow. But yeah, we'll see you next week.
See you later, guys.
Peace.